for. They've got 2 minutes to tell us why we should vote for them, and then we'll go into a debate. So your first one, Zahid.
Hi everyone, I'm Zahid, obviously. I'm your current education officer and I'm standing to be your next Student Union president. Next year, our university will go through something called an institutional review. This happens every 6 years and it has serious implications for the future of all of our degrees. Under my leadership this year, we've beaten Cardiff and given our university the title of being the first in Wales to have online rep elections. I've doubled the number of careers advisors, won over £100,000 worth of new investment for students, and I've lobbied tirelessly to end evening and Wednesday afternoon lectures. With the upcoming review, it is vital that you choose a candidate that can deliver a positive result to secure the reputation of our degrees. Our 15,000 students could be a force to be reckoned with, but we will only realise that strength when every Swansea student feels like they can stand up and be counted. Counted in sports, where we'll reduce the cost of participation. Counted in societies, where we'll fight for more space. Counted in the classroom, where we'll say that we will not pay more only to get less. We will have our say in shaping our student experience, and the university will listen. Because when we work together, our voice is a powerful voice. The time for irrelevance is over. Next year, I want our union to focus on one key thing, and that's this: securing a new deal for students. A new deal to increase the number of staff who offer advice and support. A new deal that means every single Swansea student has free broadband internet in their home. And a new deal that finally recognises that if the university wants societies and sports clubs to flourish, they're going to want to support it. On student support, let me send a message to the university loud and clear. You've got difficult decisions to make, but if it's giving students choice between buying textbooks and buying their next meal, then that's no choice at all. I'm asking for your vote because this is the time to stand up and be counted. I offer certain leadership in uncertain times. So let's build a student voice that is relevant and is powerful, and together we will listen, and together we will lead, and together we will get the job done. Vote Zahid Raja number 1.
And that candidate was Zahid Raja. And now for Lexi Woodward.
Hi, I'm Lexi Woodward. As president of your SU, I would go far and beyond to make Swansea University reach its full potential. Anyone can make promises, but I want to strive toward what I know is achievable. Controlling finances is of utmost importance in a student's life. I want to ensure that students are fully informed about the risks of overdraft, credit cards and future debt before, during and after their time at university. I want students to be made more aware of the money doctors and such services around campus. Having discussed key issues with students on campus, I have found a high dissatisfaction with the validity of student cards. This is fundamentally causing student benefit to be diminished. My experience as a member of the Students' Union has been an incredibly positive one, but I know that more can still be done. The union needs to be more open, accountable and focused on making real differences to issues faced by students on a day-to-day basis. This is why, if I get elected, I will circulate regular student satisfaction surveys to understand what it is that the student really wants. Currently, many students don't understand what the sabbatical officers do and what the student union does. So by communicating with students, I will fill the void between a higher body and a full-time staff and the students themselves. In campaign to increase awareness of the student union's work and presence throughout the university, I want students to be offered more opportunities to get involved. Whether it be volunteering or having temporary jobs, I want you to feel needed. Swansea University and City has a proud Welsh heritage, and that's why it's important to continue efforts of protecting the Welsh language in the union and the university. There is soon to be legislation regarding this to be put throughout Wales, and the university has to become fully bilingual through its correspondence and communication. There is no reason for us to wait. We need to be one step ahead. As a non-Welsh speaking student, I still understand the importance of the native language. I will not be intimidated by experience. As a third-year student with 2 years' experience working for the SU, I know how important it is to select a president with the best interest of the student body in mind. And this is what Woodward would do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lexi. We're just going to move things around on stage for a sec. Okay, now for the debate. Firstly, to Zahid, what's the biggest difference or change students will notice if you get elected?
The biggest difference students will notice will be the fact that we will be in a new Students' Union building. There will be free broadband for every single student next year. I just want to point out that this is a fully costed policy that has been rolled out in San Francisco before, and I'll be releasing a blog later to explain exactly the steps that will be required and exactly how it will be rolled out next year if elected. So I suppose those are the two things: a new Students' Union building and fully costed broadband, and I suppose more funding for sports and societies.
Okay, so we're looking at a new building, free broadband, and more funding for clubs and societies. What's the biggest change and difference you're going to make?
I just want there to be more communication throughout the union and university. Like now, I've spoken to people and they just don't know what is going on. They don't know about elections and stuff like that. So I want, as a confident person, I want to be able to communicate with students and be really kind of at a grassroots level with students. Yeah, just keep continuing the communication.
So improving communication. Did you want to respond?
Yeah, I think it's important to improve communication, but it's also important to talk about how we're going to do that. And seriously, when you think about the Students' Union right now, you've got, 7 sabbatical officers sat in an ivory tower in Fulton House. That isn't how it should be, and that isn't how it is in most Students' Unions across the UK. Before I started this job, I was a national officer in the National Union of Students, and I saw a lot of Students' Unions. Most of those Students' Unions have front house offices where sabbatical officers or full-time officers are sat downstairs, and they're constantly talking to students. That's how it should be. Like I did with Study Aid, our full-time officers need to be out there talking to students constantly, talking about their work, talking about how they can support students.
Lexi, what do you think? Do you think that they should have a front of house location and be out and about?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think that people really need to know about the officers and people really need to know what we're doing or what we could be doing, because it's important and we have to know, and the students have to know that the officers have their best interests at heart, and they're paying so much money to be at university that it's just so important for them to realise that we're giving them something back.
Okay, if you're elected as president, what do you think your main responsibility would be? What's the most important one?
I think it's really important that I'd have the best interest of students at heart completely. Like, I'd work with my other officers to make sure that they were giving something back to the students and make sure that they knew what was going on and that I was looking as though and knowing that I was responsible and that I wasn't doing a disservice to the students, because they're the most important people.
Okay, so knowing that the students are the most important people. What about you, Zahid?
Obviously, next year, a couple of big things are happening, the institutional review being one of them. But obviously, the move to the second campus will mean that the Students' Union needs to set out its direction as to how full-time officers are going to be represented between both campuses. Secondly, the student village is going to be sold off in stages. One of the ways which the university have described it is that it'll be a building site and students will have to walk through that. I want to make sure that students that choose to live in the student village aren't ghettoised. So I suppose that those would be my 3 main priorities.
Okay, so they're the main priorities. What's the biggest challenge that you face in engaging students, and how would you get around it?
I think the fact that it doesn't seem that the Students' Union would be as interested in the students. I think the students really need to know that we are interested in them and we do want to do what's best for them, because at the end of the day, we work to give them a service. And yeah, I think that's just so important.
Okay, Zahid?
Completely agree. I think, like I said before, what we need to be doing is getting out there and talking to students, and actually not just talking to students, but listening to students. We send out thousands of surveys and we keep asking students to fill out surveys, but what do we actually do with those responses? When full-time officers go into meetings, what do they actually say in those meetings? We need to be a lot more democratic about the kinds of things that we say in meetings. So what I propose is, from next year, every single student forum will be structured around university meetings. From next year, if elected, our full-time officers will only say and do things that students say.
Okay, so only do and say things that students say. Right, the next question that I've got here is, the union is currently a member of NUS. Is the union better inside NUS or outside of it?
Obviously, I haven't been an officer before and I don't know the ins and outs of the NUS, but I think having a support network is really important, and if the NUS are supporting our union and if they are doing us a service and doing a good service of that, then it's really important. But if they're not, then we need to work with other ways to improve our strengths and focus on how we can not have weaknesses throughout the union.
Yeah, I think it's quite important to be in the NUS and recognise the support structure, like you said, that they provide, and the full-time officer training that they provide. But also, one thing that we shouldn't be scared of is challenging NUS when they do things that our students don't agree with. So, for example, when they have motions which limit the kinds of things that we have in our shops, that we can sell, that our sports clubs and our societies can sign up sponsorship for, I think we need to take a hard line with NUS and say, look, our members have said that this is what they want, and we're going to fight for that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. We have to know that the students are getting what they want. Even if we shouldn't be bullied into what a higher body thinks we should be doing, we should be strong in saying, this is what we want to do, this is what our students have said we have to do, and we want the students to be happy at the end of the day.
Okay, so both of you, how do you improve the profile and reputation of students in the community?
One of the biggest points on my website is actually something which Leeds University Students' Union pioneered. And it's a partnership between the local council, the university and the Students' Union, where sports clubs, societies, volunteering bodies go out and they work with young people in the community. So what research shows best actually is when young people see other young people, they relate to them more, and that will actually do a lot more for getting young people into higher education than all of the other measures which the government have. So that is just one avenue that I'd pursue.
Okay, so Zahid, you think it's about getting people into higher education and producing role models for people. What about you, Lexi?
From being at Swansea and from coming to Swansea as an insurance offer, I know that this university builds people's great opinions of it as you go through. And I think we need to completely continue to build the kudos of the university and make it the place to be. Like, it's so important. It's got such a great mix of things here, and we just need to continue to build it. And yeah.
I think it's a little bit more about just building the kudos here. In fact, when you cross the road into Bryn Mill Uplands, you find students that are you find young people that are the most deprived young people in the UK. I think we have a moral obligation to actually reach out to those young people and show them that there is a better life. And that's about getting societies, sports clubs and volunteers out there. And the way that Leeds University and Leeds Council do it is that they make funds available, rewards if you will, to societies and sports clubs who do that work. So it benefits everyone, whether they're students, whether they're people out in the community or the university, and their kudos.
Okay, did you want to respond? Or happy? Right, just two more questions then, guys. How will you support the team of full-time officers that would be working with you? Lexi first.
I want to make sure that if I get elected, I will support my team by being a positive presence. Like, it's so important to have a good leader, and it's so important that you have support whenever you're trying to do something. Even if maybe it's not the best thing that you could be doing, to have support throughout that and advice when you're doing that, then it will look good from an outside point of view. If your team of officers is strong and if you've got good leadership, then you are going to look strengthened and you are going to look like you're trying to do the best thing for the students.
Okay. What about you, Zahid?
One of the things that really helped this year that Tom Upton did, our current Students' Union president, is a weekly team huddle where each of us got together for 10 minutes in the morning and each of us talked about our priorities that week and our challenges. I'd continue that kind of ethos, like just talking and having an open door policy. Secondly, one thing that we've never done before that I want to do is get every single full-time officer and part-time officer in the room, talk about the campaigns that they're going to do, look at their manifesto and make that part of the business plan, so that there are no campaigns that are running against each other. Students aren't confused. We have one message. We have a clear line on communication. Okay, Lexi?
I also want to make sure that everyone's, like Sahid said, working together. So if a team of officers look like they're working together, then it's going to look so much more positive to a student body, because it won't be, well, the sports officer did this, but then the welfare officer did this. It will look like everyone's united, and making sure that everyone's aware of what everyone wants to do is the most important thing.
And the final question I have for you guys: how will you ensure that you have a strong voice for students with the university? Zahid first.
So I've been on the National Executive Committee of the National Union of Students in Wales. I've had a national profile in representing students for the past 3 years, and I've been a pretty get-go education officer this year. I've gotten all of the things that I said that I would do last year, whether that's doubling careers service or that's getting £100,000 for students in student support. What I want to make sure that we do isn't just the presidents who potentially, have a good profile with the university. It's making sure that each of the full-time officers and each of the part-time officers also have a profile with the university to make sure that they can get the job done.
Okay, what about you, Lexi?
I know Zahid's got a lot of experience, and I'm not going to sit and pretend that I've had loads of experience, and I've been on loads of councils, and I've been at the forefront of things happening with the union, but I have worked for the SU for 2 years. I worked for ENTS. That really helped me. I want to make sure that we just have the students in mind at all times. Like, it's really easy in these positions, I think, to get removed from what actually really matters, and the students are so important. And I know, as your average student, I've been at uni for 3 years, I've loved every minute of it, but there are things that I'd get sorted, and I'd like to make sure, like, communication I think is so important. I know I've gone on about it, but I think it's so important, and I know that if I had been able to be in a position where I could communicate, I know there has been communication, but there needs to be more, and there needs to be more kind of concentration on what really matters.
Okay, Zahid, say something.
I think there's kind of a danger of attaching labels onto your average student or your silent majority or whatever term you want to use. I think what we need to look at is, how do we reach every single group of students? How do we get what students are saying, and how do we use that to affect change in the university? I don't believe that there is an average student. I think each and every person is special. Each and every person has their own desires, their own inspiration. We need to capture that, and we need to be able to use that to make sure that whatever the Students' Union is doing is for the good of students. Now, I think we've talked quite a bit about communication, but we need to look at exactly how we can get different departments in the Students' Union to start talking together. I think it's more than just talking about communication, it's about doing communication.
Obviously, saying you'll do communication, that's really good, and that's, when I say about communication, that is all throughout the process of acting it and making sure that you're committing a promise to your students. And I'm not saying an average student, I'm not saying I'm putting labels on people, but often it's easy to get lost in a greater body of students, and I think the Student Union, working with all the departments, have to cater for every student because it's so important. And if you do feel like you're getting lost, you shouldn't be feeling like that. And yeah, that's...
Okay, thank you. So both candidates have just got a quick chance to say why you should vote for you. One key thing.
I just want to make sure I'm keeping the best interest of students in mind. Just remember, what would Woodward do? And please vote for me for president. Thank you, Lexi Woodward.
Okay. And Zahid.
I don't think anybody is saying that we're not doing the things that are in the best interest of students. Keep in mind the 3 big things next year: the institutional review, the fact that the village could be ghettoised, and the fact that we're going to be moving half our departments onto the second campus. This isn't a year to gamble. This is about having certain leadership in uncertain times. Vote Zahid Raja number 1 as your next Students' Union president.
Okay, thank you, Zahid. Thank you, Lexi. And good luck both. And again, the voting is open between 8 and 8 on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Thanks very much. Thank you for coming.